Yes, we saw 3 spaceships.
Really?
My mother and my friend Lois.
Mm-hmm.
And we called up the police, and they gave us a long story that it was maneuvers from West Hampton Beach. One was very near us. They kept coming our way. They were on the dunes.
The story of Grey Gardens is a fascinating tale involving the Bouvier Beale family, particularly Edith Bouvier Beale, Big Edie, and her daughter Edith Bouvier Beale, Little Edie. That is because, over time, due to a combination of financial mismanagement and neglect, their once beautiful East Hampton estate fell into disrepair. The mother and daughter became reclusive, living in increasingly squalid conditions. In 1971, the Suffolk County Health Department raided Grey Gardens due to reports of the unsanitary living conditions. The media coverage brought the estate and its inhabitants into the public eye, highlighting the dire state of the property and the reclusive lifestyle of the Beals. Following the raid and the resulting media frenzy, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis and her sister, Lee Raswell, provided financial assistance to help clean and repair Grey Gardens, to make it habitable in order for the women to avoid eviction. But they did not do this to help complete strangers that they learned about in the newspapers. The reason that they helped is because those ladies were their relatives. You see, the Beals were part of the American elite, with Big Edie being the aunt of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Jacqueline's father, John Blackjack Bouvier III, was the brother of Big Edie. This made Big Edie Jacqueline's paternal aunt. As the daughter of Big Edie, Little Edie was Jacqueline's first cousin. The connection to the Beals added to the public interest in the story of Grey Gardens. Their story was immortalized in the 1975 documentary film Grey Gardens by Albert and David Maysles, who, by the way, I knew because he lived in the Dakota and later became neighbors with John Lennon. The film showcased their eccentricities, their decaying home, and their complex mother-daughter relationship.
Listen, I feel fine.
Great.
But everything is in a hell of a mess. My mother was yelling for something. Her little bag of ribbons. You saw Jerry just put the drawer right on the floor. So everything rolled around, so I had to wash all the silver again and find all the little stuff.
Like your soup, like your bathing suit.
Oh, I feel wonderful. So how are you? Hey, Al, we have to live in Venice or Milan.
Winter time for Venice.
What?
Winter time for Venice, okay?
Al?
Yeah.
Hey, Mother, it's the Maysles!
The documentary turned the Beals into cult figures, inspiring various adaptations, including a Broadway musical and an HBO film. Little Edie, in particular, became an icon for her resilience, creativity, and distinctive fashion sense, as well as her many memorable quotes from the documentary.
Mother's giving her all this SHIT, so I went and told them things about the family. But you see, in dealing with me, the relatives didn't know that they were dealing with a staunch character. And I tell you, if there's anything worse than a staunch woman, STAUNCH. There's nothing worse, I'm telling you. They don't weaken, no matter what.
The story of Grey Gardens began in 1924, when Big Edie and her husband, Feline Beale, acquired the Grey Gardens estate. The shingle-style home, designed in 1897, was built as a 14-room house located in the Georgica Pond neighborhood of East Hampton, New York. Mr. and Miss Robert C. Hill bought the home in 1913 as a summer cottage. At the time, the home stood on 4 acres of oceanfront land. In 1913, Anna Hill imported magnificent concrete walls from Spain to enclose the garden and temper the fierce winds and sea spray of eastern Long Island. With the walls and gorgeous wooden arbors in place, she designed the garden with assistance from landscape architect Ruth Dean. They planted a variety of pale-colored flowers, including climbing roses, lavender, phlox, and delphinium. It was truly a gray garden, she later wrote, adding, "The soft gray of the dunes, cement walls, and sea mists gave us our color scheme as well as our name." And that is how the estate became known as Grey Gardens. Born on November 7, 1917 in New York City, Little Edie was the eldest daughter of Big Edie and Phelan Beale. She grew up in a privileged environment, attending prestigious schools and enjoying the high society lifestyle. Little Edie had ambitions of becoming an actress and dancer. She moved to New York City in the 1940s to pursue a career in the performing arts. Despite her beauty and talent, she struggled to achieve significant success in the entertainment industry. After an extended marital separation, Phelan Beale notified his wife Edith, Big Edie, of their divorce around 1946 via telegram from Mexico. For all the ladies listening, what do you think about your husband letting you know that he wants a divorce via telegram from Mexico? Kindly let me know your thoughts in the comments below. He did, however, provide Edith with a monthly allowance of $300, which was the equivalent of about $5,000 in 2024, to maintain the Grey Gardens property and to support herself. Unfortunately, and eventually, Phelan's financial support ceased, and the two Ediths lost contact with him. Due to the lack of funds, the garden reverted to untamed nature, and the glorious walls and garden structures were almost entirely hidden by sprawling overgrowth. The residence fell into disrepair almost as quickly as the garden. Despite these conditions, the women continued to live in the house, keeping a large number of feral cats and wild animals. In the 1950s, Little Edie gave up her independent life and career pursuits to return to Grey Gardens to care for her ailing mother. This marked the beginning of a period of increasing isolation and severe financial difficulty for both women. By the 1960s, Big Edie and Little Edie were living in almost complete isolation. Their home became dilapidated, overrun with cats and raccoons, and lacked basic amenities. The Beals' lives during these decades were a dramatic fall from grace, transforming from socialites to recluses living in a decaying mansion. In 1972, the Suffolk County Health Commission issued an eviction notice stating the Beals could not live in that house until it was cleaned and basic utilities were restored. The news of the order and the squalor in which the women lived gained international attention. The women faced certain eviction by the town of East Hampton if they did not clean up the home and comply with local building codes. And that is when Jacqueline and her sister, Lee Radziwill, donated money to make the house habitable and to meet the standards required to rescind the eviction order. That same year, Radziwill asked brothers Albert and David Maysles to create a film documenting the Bouvier family's visits to East Hampton during her and Jacqueline's youth. Although this project was canceled, the Maysles turned their attention to the Beals, resulting in the 1975 documentary Grey Gardens. The film was shot over a 6-week period in the fall of 1973, capturing the Beals' daily lives without interference or direction. They filmed with handheld cameras, allowing them to move freely around the house and interact with the subjects. In fact, you could even hear them talking in the documentary. The Maysles brothers and their team focused on creating a narrative that highlighted the unique relationship between Big Edie and Little Edie, as well as their isolation and eccentricity.
After you get out, you realize nothing is important. No, it isn't. Nothing.
Well, my mother, she gave me the right slant on my voice. She told me to leave everything.
No man could compete against Mrs. Beale and Gould.
We were pretty.
No man in the world.
Well, I worked hard. I wish you would play Laura. I think.
Can't you bother me about anything when she had a talent like that?
Well, I take care of his house. I lived on no money.
You were able to save the house on account of me.
Yeah, I think.
I didn't want to live in East Hampton, but I had to on account of Mother's house.
Well, now you see why you lived, because you had music all the time. That's why. And you went to the beach too. That's what you like.
The film received widespread acclaim from critics for its intimate and unflinching portrayal of its subjects. It was praised for its raw and honest depiction of the Beals' lives and the Maisels' ability to capture their personalities and relationship.
Heroes to see us, our heroes, no friends or relations on weekend vacations. You won't have it known, dear, that we own a telephone, no. I'll awake and start to bake a sugar cake for you to take, for all the boys to see. We can raise a family, a girl for you, a boy for me. Oh, can't you see how happy we could be?
The public's reaction was mixed. While some viewers were fascinated by the Beals' eccentricity and the film's voyeuristic nature, others found it uncomfortable and invasive. Despite the divided opinions, the film gained a cult following and remained a significant work in the documentary genre. After the film's release, Edith and little Edie continued to reside in the house. Big Edie passed away on February 5th, 1977, at the age of 81. At that point, little Edie was forced to put Grey Gardens on the market. She was distraught to find that most prospective buyers wanted to demolish the home and build a new one on the lot. Unwilling to waver, little Edie refused to sell the home to anyone who did not promise to restore the mansion to its former glory. In 1979, little Edie sold Grey Gardens to Ben Bradley and Sally Quinn for $220,000, which was the equivalent of about $1 million in 2024. Sally Quinn told little Edie that she could either leave the house broom clean or exactly the way it was. But it was reported by Sally Quinn that the prospect of cleaning it up was too daunting for little Edie, so she simply walked out, abandoning everything inside. Sally further reported that the attic was filled, literally, to the rafters with broken furniture and old wicker chases, antique tables, boxes of china and silver, trunks full of letters, baby pillows of handmade lace, figurines, crates of books, and so much more. She said it was like finding a shipwreck and discovering unimaginable treasures buried among the detritus. She also said that the house was filled with the waste from 52 feral cats. Her husband, Ben Bradley, wrote that he had never seen a house in such dreadful condition. He said the attics were full of raccoons and their droppings, toilets stopped up, a kitchen stove that had fallen into the cellar, a living room with literally half a floor. Whole rooms had been abandoned when they filled up with garbage as the Beals moved to the next room. Ben Bradley and Sally Quinn restored the home. The gorgeous gardens were brought back to life, which was subsequently featured in several architectural and home decor magazines. Little Edie embarked on a new chapter in her life, marked by a mix of independence and continued eccentricity. In 1979, she moved to New York City, and then she eventually moved to Bal Harbour, Florida, where she lived in relative obscurity. She resided in a modest apartment, enjoying the warm climate and the tranquility it offered compared to her previous life. She maintained a small circle of friends and continued to receive visitors who were fascinated by her story. Edie corresponded with fans and acquaintances, reflecting on her life and the legacy of Grey Gardens. She remained proud of her independence and resilient spirit. In February 2017, a widowed Sally Quinn put the house up for sale with an asking price of just under $20 million. The Beale-owned furniture, along with household items owned by Quinn, were auctioned off in an estate sale held in mid-November of 2017. On December 20th, 2017, Grey Gardens sold for $15.5 million to American fashion designer Liz Lang. The home now hosts many parties and charity events yearly and has been featured in several architectural and home decor magazines. Little Edie passed away in January of 2002 at the age of 84. She died in her apartment in Bal Harbour, Florida. Her death marked the end of an era for those who had been captivated by the Grey Gardens saga. Big Edie and Little Edie's story continues to be one of enduring fascination, capturing themes of family, identity, and the passage of time against the backdrop of their once grand estate, Grey Gardens. So, what are your thoughts about the story of Big Edie and Little Edie and the story of Grey Gardens? Did you see the documentary by the Maysles brothers? Or the HBO film or anything else associated with Grey Gardens? What did you think about them? The Beals' fall from high society to living in squalor certainly challenges conventional notions of success and societal status. But how much of their situation could be attributed to financial problems? Considering the Beals' eccentric behavior and reclusiveness, how might mental health issues have influenced their choices and circumstances? The documentary, Grey Gardens, brought widespread attention to the Beals. How do you feel about a documentary being made about private individuals? How does the way their story was told influence public opinions and understanding of them? Do you think the Maysles could have shot and edited differently to portray them in a different light? What lessons can we learn about resilience and adaptability from the Beals story? In what ways can family and community support, or lack thereof, influence the lives of individuals in crisis? Kindly let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.